Hello and welcome to the Simply Smart Business Podcast. I'm your host, Nicki Ong, and I'm so delighted today to have here with me Melissa Delaney. She has managed high-profile events for luxury brands, celebrities, and Fortune 500 companies, and then she later transitioned into legal marketing, where she helps law firms elevate their brand through digital strategy, content, and client engagement. And she's doing both of those things still. It's amazing. So today we're going to be talking with Melissa about lots of incredible things, including purpose-driven event and brand experiences, as well as authentic marketing that connects. That's something that's important for all of us, and building a business that aligns with your lifestyle, something near and dear to my heart. So hello, Melissa. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Nikki. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I love starting with a little story time, if you will, because I think it's important to kind of see how someone got from the very beginning to where they are now. So take us on that journey. How did you get to where you are today?
I kind of feel like any entrepreneur, it was all by accident. There is a case to be made for it was all on purpose, but I really like to think it's through the network that I've made. And this is something I preach from beginning to end of my career is it's all about the people you surround yourself with. And so that is how I got into all of the things that I've touched from college, coming out of college to then getting my master's and all the people I've met along the way. It's just been their fault, but a little bit of guidance, of course.
Yes. Amazing. Amazing. So let's dive right in because you have this sort of multifaceted pieces of you, right? So you've got the event side and then you've got the marketing side, which we could argue are very interrelated, but two different branches of you. So tell us a little bit about the purpose-driven event and brand experience side of things and how that all works.
Yeah, so when I was getting my undergrad, I was living in Santa Barbara at the time, and there was a Four Seasons there, and that is where I got a job while I was working. And I was working in the restaurants, but I ended up going into the catering world where there was a ton of high profile events, and it was very elevated, very sophisticated events. And here I am, an 18, 19, 20-year-old, seeing all of this for the first time and learning the service standards that Four Seasons preaches. And that became kind of the foundation of who I became. I'm a systematic personality style, which means I
Mm.
like to have like a routine. And standards really helped me understand that. And having elevated standards from a service perspective, or also from just look, feel, and obviously like the events and the parties that they were having, it all just made sense. And so that side of my world, obviously, I ended up graduating from college and I had to find a real job. That wasn't one, but at the same time, I was studying to be a lawyer, which my brother is a lawyer, and he gave me the most sound advice when I was studying for the LSATs. Don't.
Mhm.
So my lovely brother really saved me, but I ended up in law anyways, which is so funny, but it worked with the side of me that was the event, like design, the aesthetic, the lifestyle, and having marketing experience in the legal world. I had no idea there was marketing in the legal world. So, that's how I ended up from events into the legal space. And then it ends up that there is a lot of client entertaining when it comes to law firms, especially big law firms. I mean,
Sure.
you have very sophisticated and elevated clients. And so it all kind of ties together, especially like that Four Seasons brand that,
Mm.
any sort of high level brand that you can think of, especially where service is the focal point. I like to give the example. I was doing an event for a law firm in Boston, and I was staying. We were hosting it at the Langham, and I had bought some makeup on the. That's a 7-hour flight, and I had bought some brand new makeup to get from LA out there, and I had 15 minutes to change for this big event from
Wow.
setup outfit to my formal outfit. And I couldn't find this foundation that I had just purchased. And I was like, man, am I losing my mind? Did I forget to pack it? All of a sudden I get a knock on the door and I open it and it's this gentleman with this beautiful bouquet of flowers and a gift bag. And he's like, the woman who was cleaning your room accidentally knocked it over and it broke. So she ran down to the Nordstrom's, picked you up a new one,
Oh
and
my
here's some
gosh.
flowers as an apology. And I was like, what? Well, I'm glad to know I'm not crazy, but that is next level. And of
Yeah.
course, that is something that resonates. Now I tell everybody that
Amazing.
story because of the above and beyond excellent service.
Hmm.
It wasn't just that they were, thank you for cleaning my room, I appreciate that, but it was that next level step. And so incorporating that into anything you do for work, anything that you do as a service oriented profession, bringing that elevated added value is something I always look for and try to
Mm,
find ways to do that. And so it is very interesting when you think about elevated service brands like a law firm, like, a marketing agency, a consulting agency, a PR firm, right? You want to go above and beyond for your clients because that's what sticks around for them. And then they become ambassadors for you. That's less work for
absolutely.
you to do on the front end. They're going to preach those happy, wonderful stories about the Langham and Boston before that they're going to talk about it was an okay experience, right?
Right. Yeah, and it's just a testament to how, and it's not even that big of a deal, right? The story that you told, like for someone to take a couple of minutes to go out of their way and purchase you a new foundation, pick you up some flowers, like in essence, those are very small things, but in the moment for you to be able to see that, wow, these people really care about me and they got me this beautiful bouquet as an apology, I mean, that's huge. And it's just a testament to any service provider that you can create that curated, beautiful, high-end experience with just a little bit of extra effort sometimes.
Absolutely. Just that next level touch sometimes
Mm,
takes. Yeah.
yeah. And to your point, it's what makes you memorable, right? Everybody can create a ho-hum experience. Yeah, you had a place to stay. Yeah, the room got cleaned, but you keep telling that story, and I'm sure that people have that stuck with people so that they know when they go to Boston, I'm gonna have to go to that hotel because obviously it's
It's gorgeous.
incredible. Yeah.
It's funny from execution of an event standpoint, you don't get to enjoy the amenities, but when you
Mm.
do and it's lovely, like, oh, this was the best cup of coffee I ever had, or the service for breakfast when I had 15 minutes before I had to run and set up an event for 18 hours. Like
Hmm.
sometimes that's lovely.
It is. And it's those little things that count that stick in your mind. And then you too, as even as the coordinator, the person running everything, then you see, okay, this was the right choice. Obviously, this was the right place to do this. It just solidifies that for you.
Yeah, if that's the experience
Amazing.
I'm having, my expectation would be that the chairman of the law firm is having an even more exceptional of an experience.
Hmm.
You know, hierarchy in that instance, but that's who you want to make sure is having a wonderful time. That's the purpose of those events, right?
Exactly.
Entertaining clients and entertaining the partnerships. So
Yeah, and ultimately with these events, is that the goal to entertain sort of the internal team, or is it sometimes to entertain their clients or a little bit of everybody? Who does the audience end up being?
absolutely. In like the legal marketing space, events mean both. And in some cases, there's internal partnership retreats where the partnership owners come together and they have their annual meeting. They talk about
Hmm.
financials, they talk about strategy, next level, high-end clients. They also talk about how they can internally cross-sell. I mean, that is so critical for
Sure.
a labor and employment attorney to work very closely sometimes with a privacy attorney, and those people maybe are never in the same room together except for a partnership meeting. And so having those internal conversations is great marketing for law firms, but it's also important for the strength and building of the culture of the law firm, right? And then that helps with recruiting down the line. Like there's so many reasons that these internal events mean as much as client meetings, so that when they do go to these client meetings, they can say, I know the exact person who can help you with this problem you're having
Right.
because I don't specialize in that law, but I know the
But
person.
they're right down the hall.
Exactly, exactly. Or they might be in my
Amazing.
Cleveland office, and that's okay. But guess what? We have Zoom. So
Yeah,
we can make it work. So
absolutely.
that's adding value to your client, where that internal education is just as critical as having the time with your client to do more marketing with your current ambassadors, and then of course finding more and new clients for your specialty and your niche.
That makes sense. That's incredible. So talk to me a little bit more as we sort of think about how all of this connects, no pun intended, how authentic marketing that connects kind of plays into everything. Because I imagine it plays certainly into the events, but also sort of transitioning into the marketing side of things for you. How, when we talk about this a lot here, how do we end up reaching our audience in a way that actually connects?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. There is a research organization called BTI. They do a lot of research for law firms and other organizations and industries, but They did a study of client satisfaction for law firms. They do it every year. And there is an interesting like dip, and I wish I had these numbers in front of me because I don't want to misspeak them, but it'll make more sense when I tell you what year it was. But in 2020, when COVID hit and everyone became virtual, the client satisfaction actually went up
Mm,
because people were having real interactions with people that they've worked with forever. When their dog would run in, their
mhm.
child would accidentally come into the room, right? Little things like that that brought things full circle and became a little bit more personable than just the let's get down to business and leave it at that. So it is interesting to see where that authenticity marked with client satisfaction because that was on accident. That was not on purpose, right?
Yeah.
Typically.
Yeah.
So thinking about those statistics and working them into how now we're more at a hybrid working, a lot of people are going in person back to the office. A lot of law firms are forcing everyone to be in office full time again.
Yeah.
So how can we find that happy balance with the client? And there's a lot of client satisfaction programs taking place internally at organizations. Those are always fantastic. But again, going back to having check-ins with current clients and taking pulse is really important, but also being your authentic and genuine self
Mm.
is so much more important because they need something to connect to, not just your product. I mean, that is important, but it has to be meaningful to them as well. And people are making buying decisions, purchasing decisions based on the relationships that they have, or even
Mhm.
recommendations of relationships that they have. So, you know, it is important to craft more authentic messaging around what you do, who you are, and how you can help somebody because that's really ultimately what they want to know. And if you
Yeah.
can do that in your general digital marketing, when they first look you up, because everybody's looking you up before they make
Mhm.
your purchasing decision, get to that point quickly, but also make sure you identify that niche. Like, what sets you apart from everyone else that does what you do?
Yeah.
I actually find that people who do marketing in the legal space, but do something very different than what I do, are my best referral people. Because I can
Mm.
essentially say to them, you are a speaker, and all you talk about is time efficiency. You are a time efficiency presenter and you have all these different topics you can talk about. I'm a leadership, I'm team development. We could go in and do something together. Or if you don't do it, you could refer that client to me and vice versa. So, that's just one example, but it comes down to networking and being authentic with people and saying, this is exactly what I do. There is a point in your career where you will learn that either a hard way or you've already figured it out and you're ahead of the curve.
Amazing. Yeah. And I can really see how the authenticity piece and the high level of service play into each other, right? Because they're both great ways to differentiate yourself. Because the reality is, whether you're talking about law or you're talking about plumbing or you're talking about kids' toys, like a kids' toy store, there are so many of them in the market. But looking at which one really stands out, those are two huge ways to stand out between the high level of service offerings that you have and having authentic marketing. So I think those are two huge touch points that people need to keep in mind.
Absolutely. Yeah, no
Oh,
question.
amazing. All right, this one's going to be my favorite. I already know because I'm really passionate about this. How do you personally build a business that aligns with your lifestyle?
Wow, making mistakes for sure.
That's a great one.
You cannot learn, and growth loves a willing soul. So you have to be
Mm,
willing to learn so that you can grow, because that is so important. I mean, there is this little thing back here like called an ego that will come into play sometimes, and sometimes it will be up here and sometimes it'll be down here, and so there is part of that you have to disassociate from and learn and be able to say, you know what, let's start over. That's fine, it didn't work. My idea that I was so passionate about, is I was certain was going to be amazing, didn't work, and that's okay. But
mhm,
it doesn't mean it's never going to work. It just means it's not gonna work right now. And so I think that that is the biggest takeaway. Like, I'm totally an idea person, and so, like, ideas are coming middle of the night, write it down, like, put it in my phone.
mhm.
Oh my gosh, that's the best idea ever when I'm walking. Like, I do this constantly, but I haven't
Amazing.
created 5 million businesses out of it. to sit with it. I have to ruminate. I have to balance my time, right?
Hmm.
So definitely make mistakes, learn, but like, yeah, be willing to grow. Be willing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's great advice, especially I love the making mistakes part because I think it's resiliency in business that really separates those that stay in it and those that end up going back to a 9 to 5 or those that just say, this isn't for me. And it's having that resilience that you know that you can get back up after making a mistake and try again and just keep doing it over and over because eventually something's going to stick.
Yeah, absolutely. There will be a time, especially if we're putting that positive energy towards it, that can be almost as important. I'm a big person in like I have my like I said, I'm a systematic personality style. So I like
Hmm.
rigid. I'm very much like, let's find out why. Let's figure this out. Let's find the data.
Yeah.
Let's analyze everything. Sometimes that it can overwhelm me to the point where I'm like, okay, it's time to take a minute. Let's go meditate.
Mm,
Let's study some
balance.
positive affirmations. Like sometimes my brain, I have to physically switch it off to a different channel so that I can come back to something that I'm over obsessing about. Not
Mm,
really obsessing, but over I've looked at it too hard. Like when you write a paper and you're like, I've reread this 100 times.
hmm.
Just like
You're too
not
close
yeah,
to it.
exactly. So sometimes I have to completely change my brain mentality to something wild and different. Like, why have I not learned how to work with wood in my life? Like, let's go take a woodworking class. Like, just to change the channel and like try
Yeah.
something else. And maybe it'll inspire something or you'll learn something new about yourself.
Yeah. And I've heard and I believe this to be true myself is that when you step away from a problem or you step away even from an idea that's kind of brewing and you let it simmer while you think of something else or you are creative in a different way or in a totally unique way that you've never been, that as actually helps your creative brain work harder and be more efficient in a way to get to that answer to your problem and ends up having a more beautiful result as a result.
Yeah. Yeah. It adds a lot of flair.
And then you have all these skills that you never knew that you'd end up with.
Exactly. Exactly. That's my favorite. I definitely have learned over the years that I'm here to learn and I'm here to never stop learning. So,
Yeah. And I think that's another piece too of all this, the making mistakes and having that growth mindset, like you mentioned, that really separates people. So how do you intentionally have that growth mindset or live intentionally even?
I mean, it definitely took a while to get here, but that's through understanding that any setback, any negative thing that happens, if you can switch your mindset from this happened to me or this is happening to me to what is the lesson in this? So even if you don't know what the lesson is right away, but you start asking yourself, what is the lesson in this? What do I need to learn from this? Your mindset will change so much quicker and you actually already probably know the answer to it. You just haven't switched your head off to like get to the answer. And so for me that practice has been I think as important as like something like gratitude would be for some people.
Mhm.
Practicing gratitude is very important and lovely
Sure.
in many aspects of life, especially personal lives. But I gravitate towards the lessons. That's just the language that speaks to me. And so if something like that happens, I look for the lesson and it usually turns it into a positive. 98% of the time it's a positive when you
Yeah.
think that way. And you can actually move on from it a lot quicker, which is really interesting.
Mhm.
Like, I'm kind of one of those people who used to stew and sit with stuff, like the things that wake you up, those funny gifts that you see. Like, I woke up at 3 a.m. thinking about something I said in 1985. But I can like let it go so much easier now when I'm like, what's the lesson? I got it. Okay. Don't repeat that cycle.
Right. I learned it, moving on. That's amazing. And that's so mature and really speaks to that growth mindset, honestly. That's
Totally.
incredible.
Totally. I will say again, it took me a while to get there, but
Yes, always, always. And those lessons do. And sometimes it takes a couple of times for them to stick, and that's okay. As long as we keep coming back and are willing to learn them.
yeah, and not give up for sure.
Absolutely. Well, this has been so amazing, Melissa. I feel like you've shared such incredible wisdom and insights with us. What's the best way for our listeners to connect with you?
Yeah, Absolutely. You can find me on LinkedIn. I, again, am a full-time consultant. So if you are looking in the event space or you're looking in the legal space, I do both, but sometimes they're definitely like crossing beams. So LinkedIn is definitely the best.
And I will include the Melissa's link in the show notes so that you can get easy access there. And do you have any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
Oh my goodness. I would love to offer one thing that I've been focusing on the last couple months. And there is a great TED Talk called I don't want to mess it up, but it's The Power of the Pause. So when something happens, whether it's positive or negative, and before reacting, there's power in pause. And sometimes that's even before you respond, before you answer a question, before you make a very big or very small decision. Like, take that pause. I was giving a presentation with a friend recently, and there was 1 minute where I just had to reset my brain, and I was like, wait, that's actually what I need to tell them to do in this moment in this presentation. So it worked. And it was able to be like a demonstration as well. Like, nobody freaked out like, oh my God, she's not talking for 5 seconds. It was just, okay, let's like take a minute and reset and then continue with whatever it is that we're doing. So power in the pause for sure.
I love that. Yeah, there really is. I think there's this innate pressure, especially with how fast our society moves, to just have the answer, say the thing, not have that pause ever. So to really bring it back to that, I think is brilliant. Amazing. Thank you for that. Well, it's been such an absolute pleasure having you here, Melissa. And to our amazing listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the Simply Smart Business podcast for more inspiring conversations and actionable strategies to help you build a successful, sustainable business. We'll see you next time.